The spiritual awakening journey can often lead us to feel like we're in some sort of limbo, like we're in between two ways or two worlds or two natures. And that's because we're relearning. We're actually remembering, but we could say we're relearning another way of being. So let's explore. We're pretty familiar with what we used to do, right? The old us, the way we led life before was fueled by our traumas and our pains. We were constantly looking out and worried about being hurt again. We were in an emotional shell because of the hurt that we had. We were developing and surrendering our power to fear. Um, and we were perceiving ourselves as separate human beings, vulnerable, um, and exposed and unhelped and unassisted. So those are the illusions that helped us to build life in a certain way. We also felt like we weren't complete, we were lacking, and we needed. And that fueled desire and want or fear, depending on your approach. So this is what led us to build this life. And what that life looked like was a life of anxiety, constant background fear, depression, sadness, a sense of aloneness, deep grief, a sense of loss, and a sense of not really knowing where we were going. And we either completely gave up on life and said, I don't know what to do, or we were completely obsessed with doing. I will figure this out. More effort, more effort, more effort. That's what we've come from. And we've all been on a journey together of discovering what is that programming? What is the pain that is driving all of this? What is it that caused the sense of separation? And we've realized that identifying with a mind that's trapped in past pains and a sense of separation is not helpful. And we have come to realize that through meditation, through the experiencing being meditation that I talk about so often, we feel I am well, I am content. We feel connected, we feel guided. And we realize that there is a level of consciousness, a level of awareness, a level of inspiration that is separate, different from the constant stream of thoughts in the mind. The thoughts are just thoughts. They're the same. They're dead. They're useless. And they're repeats. But there's something, if you can step just a little millimeter behind, just back from that stream of thoughts and just see the stream of thoughts instead of be in it, just see it. And you sit here, you sit back, you realize that there's a knowing, there's a remembering, and there's a guidance, there's clarity. Ideas come as complete packages that are downloaded. Inspiration comes with excitement and will and desire to go after that inspiration. And we learn that this new way of doing things is not about looking at the world, looking at the problem, looking at the apparent nature of the problem. This problem is big. This problem is scary. This problem is always there. There's nothing I can do about this problem. Instead of looking at that, we look at our nature and we go inside and we say, how am I? I am well. I am connected. I am inspired. I am helped. I am supported. And I am able to ask the divine, God, for inspiration and help in this situation. And I am able to work with the other people involved in the situation, not at the level of their mind or their ego or their pain, but I can work with them at the level of their spirit. I can work with them with their true essence, the God nature within them, the God based inspiration and energy within them. And together we can co create a world and a solution to this problem. So, anyhow, I started off by saying that there's a weird sense of limbo. You're aware of the way you used to be and you don't really want to be that way anymore. And you've got an idea of how you should be and well how you are and how that can fuel a different life, but you're not fully grounded in how exactly that happens. So you kind of feel stuck in this place of, oh, I don't want to go back to the old habits and the old ways, but I'm not really 100% sure of what the new way should be. That is honestly quite a long part of the spiritual awakening journey. It's it feels like it comes from leaving the old you behind, but what it really is the fact that you are slowly remembering the original you, and you haven't really fully become comfortable with that yet. So, my advice for that, because someone actually asked me, this is inspired by a comment. My advice for that is don't recreate another old you. Don't go back into the mind, reading and analyzing and planning and plotting, and strategically coming up with a way to do a better version of you. Do not be fueled by the apparent separate self who is apparently weak and confused and unguided, who believes that thought and intellect will solve this problem or recreate a new you via effort and doership. Don't do that. That is just recreating another, maybe slightly better version of the past you. But essentially, if it is if that if the space from which you're acting, no matter how many times you reinvent that space, if the space from which you're acting still feels like it is separate from your divinity, from God, from spirit, if it still feels like it is the one doing and it is the one thinking, if your awareness, if your divine ears are still listening to instructions that are coming from you to you in your mind, then you're not completing the shift to where you have to be. Your mind is recreating a different version of an ego. So that's not important. What I want to focus on is what should you do? What you should do is turn inside, turn inside, turn inside, turn inside for two reasons. One is you want to feel your nature. You want to really, really, really know your nature. You want to know what stillness is. You want to know what completeness, contentment feels like. You want to know what trust and surrender feel like, because that is the new way of living. That is what happens. That is the result of spiritual awakening. To know your nature in spirit, to awaken to that truth, to know that that the main aspect of yourself exists before your mind, before your body, and that it is well, and that it is eternally well, and it is unshakable in that wellness. So I will post two things. I'll post the experiencing being meditation, which I find is the simplest way to experience this. And the second thing is I will post a daily surrender prayer. No, a surrender prayer. It's a meditation. Um, because that is what is going to anchor you and make you live more and more as the spirit being that you are. That is what's going to remind you of your true nature and make you remember that you don't need to do most of the things that you think you need to do, or at least not from the same angle or for the same reason. It will anchor you and steady you in a state of peace, and it will change the motive behind every action that you take, and it will change the way in which you take those actions. Okay, so I'm going to post both of those meditations in the description section of the video. The other thing that you should be sort of focusing your attention on is the listening part. Remember, I said that the problem is that used to be that you were stuck with your ears, your awareness, your divine ears. You could say your eyes or your ears, but let's say ears right now. Your awareness was listening to the thoughts that your mind was speaking to you. And in a way, that is just unconsciousness listening to unconsciousness. It's just habit listening to habit. It's just recycled thoughts. It's not a new thing, and it's not the real voice. You have to shift your listening to the listening to perceiving. Instead of you, the aspect of you that you call your mind, picking up a thought and reading it out loud, and then the aspect of you that is your awareness, listening to that little loop. Instead of that, you want to shift towards simply perceiving, being aware, detecting. And you're not the voice. the voice of your mind, the voice of your thought stream is not what you want to listen for. So you're not talking to yourself. You're detecting guidance, the inner voice, the inner spirit, the higher self, the part of you that has wisdom, the part of you that knows, the part of you that speaks not in thoughts or in words, but in feelings, images, energy, knowledge, and just simply knowing. How do you do that? You do that by asking. So the surrender prayer, which I'll put in the description, is step one for asking. And you also do it by creating space, allowing stillness, allowing presence, having a daily meditation practice, spending time in beauty, spending time in gratitude, doing gratitude as a deliberate practice to get out of the mind and into the heart. Anything that creates a little bit of space between you and the active stream of thoughts is going to create enough silence for you to for your spirit, your higher self, to have the opportunity to to be heard, not to speak, because it's always speaking. Guidance is always coming. Your true nature is always telling you what to do, or giving you support and help that you're asking for. It's not that you're waiting for your inner spirit to give you advice. Is that your inner spirit is waiting for you to create enough stillness and silence to hear it. So, I hope this hasn't been too rambly. This started off by answering a question from a comment about the state of limbo that we feel along the spiritual awakening path, in between the old us and the old way of being, and the new, well, remembering, new to us. It's really new to us, but it's your ancient self. The new us that is living in a new way and creating in a new way. And my answer, very simply, is that it's a little shaky because you're reminding yourself that you no longer want to live in the old way, and you're learning the new way and surrendering to that new way. But here's the one thing I want you to take away from it all. At the end of the day, it is not your human you. It's not your mind, it's not your ego, it's not your brain, it's not your intellect that is doing this. It is not your discipline, it is not your to-do list. It's none of these things that are achieving this. What is achieving spiritual awakening? What is reminding you of your true nature? What is healing the old you and awakening the new you is your spirit. The very thing that you are surrendering to, the very thing that you are becoming, is what is guiding you on this path. So don't put too much burden and pressure on yourself to achieve this. Instead, remember and surrender, remember and surrender. Have a conversation with your inner spirit, with your inner guide, and say, help me. Or when you notice that you're being snapped out of unconscious thoughts or emotional patterns, say, thank you for helping me. And when you don't know what to do, say, give me the wisdom to do. And when you surrender and you feel like I haven't fully surrendered, say, help me to surrender fully, because this is all I know how to do. Give me the rest of it. Meet me halfway. The beautiful thing about it is that your spirit won't meet you halfway. It will meet you 99.9% of the way. You literally just have to turn towards it and begin to say, help me. And your spirit will come running back to you and do all of it for you. So just maintain that gaze. Instead of looking at the world, looking at the people and the problems and the situations and the bank accounts and your to-do list and your tasks and the things that your mind is saying to you, instead of looking at the world and the mind, just turn and look to spirit. That's it. That's it. And you will be guided along the way with all of the techniques, knowledge, tools, habits, will, desire, and discipline that is needed to shift completely from the old you to the new you. I guarantee it. So anyhow, I hope this has been helpful. Thank you for your comments. I do take your comments seriously, and I will try to address as many of them as I can. And also I want to mention that I want to talk to you guys more about this way of being, this new way of being, the friend on the inside, your inner guide. hearing spirit, talking to spirit, surrendering to spirit, getting guidance from spirit, co-creating a new world, a new life, a new reality that's not fueled and created by your traumas and your past. It's not misinterpreted by your mind, and it's not limited by the fears of the world. Instead, you create something new based on true perception, divine perception, truth, power, connection. How do you create that world? Um it's a longer discussion, and it requires like Q&A and just and practicing stuff together. Um of course you can watch the videos on the channel. It's all in there. But if you want a sort of like A to Z guide of how do you do this, and what does every single part of it mean? What do you mean by you you create what you see, and you see what you carry. What does that mean? And what does it mean that you have an inner guide? And who is this inner guide? And how do you surrender, contact, ask, talk to, receive from, and thank this inner guide? All of that stuff. I'm starting it as a course. It'll probably run about 2 months, but I'm doing it through my membership program. I have two of them. The old one, which is on a site called Buy Me a Coffee, and the new one where I'm migrating into Patreon. It's the same thing. They're both gonna have the same content. Both links are in the description. If you're interested, I suggest that you sign up for that, because we can do a deeper discussion and have more practical one-on-one and like actual exercises and practices much more comfortably than we can do on YouTube. So if you're interested, I would really love to meet you there. And other than that, I will always reply to your comments. So please let me know where you're at, what you're understanding, and how this is helping you. Have a wonderful day, and thank you for joining me.